The iPhone XS Max is a big phone with a big price tag. Is it worth it? Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. So honest it hurts. If this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. If you've been here before, then welcome back. And all of those things, let's get the pleasantries out of the way! Up to this point, I made a bunch of videos giving you my initial thoughts and opinions about the iPhone XS Max, but in this video, I'm going to tell you the good, the bad about the XS Max, whether I'm going to keep it, and whether you should consider buying it. So let's get straight into it. We'll start with the good. The build of this phone is quite nice. It's what I might call beautiful. The design is so much better than the iPhone 6 through 8. The stainless steel and glass feel really great in the hand. So that to me is a big plus. The screen size is also very welcome. It rivals phones the size of the Note 9, but it's a little bit smaller. The only thing you have to deal with is the notch, which they cleverly hide with this wallpaper. iOS 12 is a major selling point for any iPhone, and this one is no different. It is really an upgrade from what we saw in iOS 11, and I think it's something that people should really be thinking about. But don't just think about it as like, I can get iOS 12 if I buy this phone. That's not the case. You can get iOS 12 if you have anything from an iPhone 5S all the way up to the iPhone 10, and of course these newer phones. So don't get confused and think that if you want the newest software, you've got to have the newest phone. iOS 12 will run great on just about any iPhone out there, so don't let that be a deciding factor for you. Some of the great features of iOS 12 is more stable. You get group FaceTime on here. You get Siri shortcuts to help you do things. If Siri, I don't know, haven't tried it. Siri is still sort of dead to me. You get battery info that tells you about your usage and how much time you got left. You get password management and autofill, which for me, using LastPass, allows LastPass to fill any app or anything else with the passwords that I use in LastPass. That's a great help to me. It gives you access to understanding how much screen time you've had and what you've been using. Like, so if you watch 10 hours of YouTube, it's going to tell you, hey, maybe it's time to take a break. That's really pretty cool, just to give you a sense of what you've been doing. And of course, the camera is improved, but we'll have more on that later. Another benefit to purchasing this phone is that it is an iPhone. It's familiar, it's easy to use. Integrated into that Apple ecosystem, if you have multiple Apple devices from computers and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, you get iMessage, call answering on the computer, AirDrop, many other things that go into the Apple ecosystem. But for all the good that is in this big new phone, there's plenty of not so good and some straight up bad. As the week has worn on and folks have been using the iPhone XS Max, there have been several issues that have arisen that Apple is going to need to deal with sooner than later. First of all, screen gate. Inconsistency in the color and tint of the screen itself. My screen is very dull and has a significant amount of blue shift when compared to my Note 9. This could mean that I have a panel sourced from LG who has struggled with this issue in the past, or that my particular screen is faulty. Regardless, it kind of sucks to see this when Apple has always had such a great track record for amazing screens. And then there's Beautygate. Lou from Umdocs Therapy has discovered that there's some kind of aggressive smoothing and color something or other happening with the selfie camera. Well documented on his channel. I'll put a link to his stuff. To my knowledge, to this point, Apple has made no mention of it. It wasn't listed as a feature, and there's no way to turn it off. Here are a couple of selfies I took with both my iPhone XS Max and a couple that I took with my Note 9 so that you guys can see the difference between the two, if there is any. Then there's connectivity gate. A lot of folks have been having trouble with Wi-Fi and LTE connection speeds and reliability with these new phones, the XS Max and the XS. I've noticed myself a few problems here and there, but haven't really done any hardcore testing. Matthew Moniz has a great video showing what he discovered in terms of LTE and Wi-Fi connectivity, and I'll point you over in his direction. But then again, maybe we're just holding it wrong. Another issue that this particular model of the iPhone has is what some people are calling battery gate. Some users have discovered it takes a super duper long time to charge this phone and its smaller stablemate. Both take well over 3 hours to charge from zero. And while the phones themselves are capable of fast charging, Apple has, for the second year in a row, included an antiquated 5-watt charger in the box, giving the consumer the choice of limping by with that inadequate piece of gear or spending $70 on Apple's fast charger. Apple's been known to do this, and they do it more and more often, trying to get you to buy accessories that they should be giving to you. I have found that using the 12-watt iPad charger does charge the phone faster, but the proprietary charger is 30 watts, so it's going to be faster still. I also reached out on Twitter and YouTube for some questions viewers might have, and I thought I'd answer some of them right here. EDC Hub on YouTube asks, does it show more content on the screen versus the plus size, or is it just bigger? I think it's just bigger, which is a nice feature, but it still is marred by the notch. If you watch in landscape mode and you look at and you pull it out to full screen, the notch is taking a huge chunk out of whatever you're watching. While I was able to look past that in last year's iPhone X, this year it just bothers me more than it did. It was a design compromise then. Now it just seems like a failure to innovate. Mediocre Tech on YouTube asks, as a music guy, is the audio recording on the Macs better than the audio recorded on your Note 9 if you were to use your iMac Pro to play both recordings? There's some features in the iPhone that I think actually make it better for musicians in general, one of which is Music Memos, which actually listens to, if you're trying to write a song or just come up with a melody or something like that, you can actually open Music Memos, hit record, and not only will it record you, but it will also follow along and mark the chords that you're playing and the key that you're playing in so that you can go back and have something to actually start to work from when you want to record more. Now, if you're talking about audio quality, I really can't recommend the iPhones for listening audio quality. The AirPods are great. They're probably the best wireless headphones in terms of convenience, but they don't sound very good. And now that Apple has ditched the headphone jack and now ditched the dongle that they gave you to use a set of wired headphones if you wanted to, I just don't think that the quality coming through the Lightning port is anywhere near as good as what would come through a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. The Note 9 has a lot of great features that really improve your listening experience. If you're just wanting to listen to audio and have the best experience, the Note 9 is going to be your best bet. Get on My Level asks, in a daily workflow, does it have any improvements over the iPhone X or 8 Plus? No, unless you count the 15% speed boost that the new chip gives this phone over those phones. iOS 12 is really what matters here, and iOS 12 is available on iPhones all the way down to the iPhone 5S. So, if you have a 10 or an 8, you're not going to get a lot more out of this phone. On Twitter, Irfan asks, do you think it's possible that Apple will roll out any updates for the iPhone XS Max to better use the screen real estate? My answer there is no. They didn't put those features into iOS 12, so we're going to have to wait until iOS 13 or whenever Apple decides to allow us to have things like multi-screen, etc., on these larger phones. To this point, they haven't done it, and I wouldn't expect it until we see the next version of the operating system. Joshua Gross from Gross Technology asks, my biggest question is, if you already have an iPhone X, minus the size of the screen on the Max, do you think it's worth upgrading, or is it not really enough in the feature department to worry about updating? I don't think that there's too much to recommend updating to these phones over the iPhones of the past. The iPhone X is going to be comparable. The iPhone 8 Plus is going to be comparable. This phone, while it offers a new chip and everything else, again, the operating system is going to be great for any iPhone that you have, so I wouldn't worry about additional features. Camera's a little bit improved. There's certain things here and there, but it's still an iPhone. The Coach on Twitter asks, do the notifications still suck? Well, it's an iPhone, and they haven't really changed the notifications all that much, besides grouping them together. So yeah, compared to what you get with Android, they still suck. So with all the above in mind, what do I think of the iPhone XS Max overall? Who, if anyone, would I recommend purchase this device? And will I keep it myself? As I said, what Apple gets right, they always get very right. The build is great, larger screen is definitely welcome. iOS 12 is a big improvement over iOS 11 and it offers a bunch of new features, but there are still several aspects that disturb me and make me wonder if Apple is slipping a little bit in terms of quality control and just whether or not they're trying to milk a little bit too much out of their customers when it comes to accessories. Namely, the issues I've had with my screen, the new selfie cam beauty features, wide reports of connectivity issues, as well as Apple's continued refusal to provide adequate charging out of the box, not to mention taking away the headphone jack dongle and all that kind of stuff this year. The big elephant in the room is the price. For a phone that costs $1,100 to start, Apple should be offering more, not less. Features that worked well in previous models should not be trouble points in a new model. What it boils down to is this. If you want an iPhone and you have an older model, anything lower than a 7, there's a lot of upgrade here, but you can enjoy the lion's share of that new goodness by just updating your existing phone to iOS 12. This phone is faster, but not so much so that your old phone will feel sluggish. Apple's chips are always fast and they have always aged well, so don't upgrade to this phone just because you think you need the latest silicone. This is a very expensive phone, and my opinion is there's not enough about it and more problems mounting than I'm comfortable with to recommend anyone buy it. If you can wait, wait. If you need a new phone but aren't married to iOS, there are a ton of great Android devices out this year as well that cost less money. But if you gotta have the latest and the greatest iPhone, you're gonna buy it no matter what I say. So I've been using the XS Max alongside my Note 9 for this whole week and have continually felt myself drawn back to the Note 9. Whereas in the past, I've almost always given up the Note phone to use the latest iPhone. I'm not going to be keeping this iPhone. Even taking away the screen issues and other things, there's just not enough good in this phone to outweigh the bad this year. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you getting the phone? Have you got the phone? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? I'm all ears. I'd love to have a conversation with you, so let me know down in the comments what it is that you think about these new iPhones from Apple. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. If this was your first time here and you want to come back, well, then you can hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon and all that kind of stuff to come back and know when I'm putting out videos, which is quite frequently. If you've been here before, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming back over and over again and making this a great community. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.